Good morning, Sac City. Welcome in to another edition of the Sac City Podcast. I'm your host, the one and only Vinny Milani, joined as always by your boy, my boy, and everybody's boy. He is AJ Johnson. It is a beautiful November 11th morning here in the city. Episode 116 is about to kick off. We had Thursday night football action last night between AJ, your Atlanta Falcons, and the Carolina Panthers. We'll recap that game in just a few moments. We also have our Week 10 previews to continue. We've got the AFC home games today, including matchups like the Minnesota Vikings and the Buffalo Bills. We got the Jaguars Chiefs. That's going to be a great game, and so much more. We've got a lot to get into today. AJ, let's go inside the Thursday night football matchup between your Falcons and the Panthers. The Carolina Panthers defeated the Atlanta Falcons last night 25-15 in a battle between two NFC South teams where the Falcons had a chance to really put themselves in a good position to be at the top of the NFC South. They fall short of that with the loss to the Carolina Panthers as the Panthers moved to 3-7. The Falcons moved to 4-6. AJ, take us through last night as a big Falcons guy. Take us through what happened last night. I mean, you guys had a good position. You guys were in a good position to set yourselves up for success moving forward with the NFC South race. You fall short. What did you see from the Falcons last night?
Yeah, we were the sad owners of a revenge game that we didn't know was happening and got hit by the Deontay Foreman train, and it wasn't that good. This man had himself a day. Our defense wasn't prepared on any side of it. Foreman had 31 carries, 130 yards, and a touchdown. That's the most carries since like 2004 for the Carolina. And you'd think that was crazy because all they ever did was give the ball to Christian McCaffrey when he was there. But Deontay Foreman just ran wild. I looked at this guy last night, and someone asked me if they thought this was going to stay, going for Deontay Foreman, if he could keep this up. And I told him I think that this offense has no choice but to allow to keep him up. They only have one real guy on the outside with DJ Moore. Terrace Marshall's come along a little bit, got some receptions and everything. But the run game is very important to this offense, despite who's back there. And Deontay Foreman's come up and got it. The Panthers were just prepared for the Falcons. We know already that coming into this game, the Falcons are going to run the ball. They're going to run the ball. And they were ready for that. And then the weather happens. And even if we wanted to try to air the ball out, it's sloppy out there. You're going to have to run the ball. There were so many missed interception opportunities from the Falcons. And you can attest it to the weather if you want. You can attest it to just not being that great of a defense. But once their plan was knocked out, it had to go with Marcus Mariota being the guy to lead the team to a W. And while he's fought very well on week in and week out, we haven't seen him be the reason in most games that they come out with a W. So I was I don't want to say shocked because we know the Panthers have a good defense, despite what we've seen the last 2 weeks and how everybody else has been able to run over them. When the time calls for it in a tough division game, they avoid the sweep. We didn't get as crazy as a game as we did 2 weeks ago, but the Panthers liked it that way, and sadly they got the W. As far as the division goes, it's still open. Unless that 3-point last-second win was enough for the Buccaneers to just streak for the rest of the season, still open. I very much expected to be 4-6 and 4-6 Tampa Bay and Atlanta this week as well.
That's the biggest thing. We talk about the fact that the Falcons were surprisingly right in it. And I heard a lot of this last night when hearing Richard Sherman talk on the post game, talking about it may be a bad thing keeping Tom Brady in this. Like that's the biggest thing is like we've never really seen Brady and a Brady led team struggle like this, or it's been a while since we've seen a Brady led team struggle like this. And the Falcons have their chances to really separate themselves or try and put themselves in a good position, and they're just letting Brady hang around. Coming into this game, when you look at the schedule after this, like you have the Panthers here, that's a winnable game for the Falcons. Like everything, there's a lot of winnable games for the Falcons for the remainder of the season. And when you lose games to Carolina, it's like that can't happen. That like if you want, and it's weird talking about this for the Falcons because like the expectations coming into the season were not as high as they are as they've been performing, I should say. That schedule looks great the rest of the season. You got to win these games against Carolina. And they didn't. They just kept Brady around. Marcus Mariota, AJ, are we starting to say bring in Desmond Ridder? Should we starting to have these conversations more?
So the last time you asked this question, I said that was a fan answer, and what I meant by that was despite what we all want, Arthur Smith and this Falcons team is going to do what they have to do, but going to do what they want to do, excuse me. But there are points in time last night when I'm just looking at Mariota and it baffles me, because I truly felt like there's no way the rookie behind him would ever make a boneheaded play like that. There were times where you're begging him to do something with the ball instead of just running laterally out of bounds. You're begging him not to barrel roll and throw the ball blindly up in the air. There's things that are happening that you look at and you're just like, you've been in the NFL too long. You were too good of a college player to think these things are what you're supposed to do with the ball. With that being said, we just talked about how they're still in it for this division. And I don't know that bringing in Desmond Ridder right now changes that enough where you feel comfortable. I'm very much a fan, and I've been like this for years. I think this is one of my more consistent points that I've ever had on this show. I'm very much a fan of allowing the rookie to come in and learn, especially with him being a third-round pick. You look at guys, and I know this is the easy, low-hanging fruit. You look at guys like Patrick Mahomes, who I knew was ready from the moment he was drafted, and he had the opportunity to sit behind and learn the NFL, and he came out and went gangbusters. Desmond Ridder is a talented quarterback. One of the most winning quarterbacks in college history. Of course, he has his issues, but what he was able to do at Cincinnati for those 4 years is, to me, going to translate into the NFL. Bringing him in now with the pressure on when the defense isn't good, the secondary is nowhere near what they used to be with Casey Hayward being out potentially for the season. A.J. Terrell can't get over the hamstring issue. The run defense being up and down. No real pass rush. A lot would be put on his shoulders to carry this team, and I don't know if that's something you want to do at this point in time. Now, if you're saying that we're not going to the playoffs and we need to start looking for the next season, you talked about their schedule. Those last 3 games, if we're out of it, those are some tough teams that they could play, and I wouldn't be upset if Desmond Ridder is playing those last 3 games to see what we have for next season. I don't know, as much as I like Desmond Ridder, and I do. I don't know if right now is the time, despite on what we've seen from Marcus Mariota. As ugly as he looked last night, still 186 yards and 2 touchdowns.
I think that's
get some things done.
I think that's the thing. He's doing just enough to say, okay, you can't get rid of me, but not doing enough to get them over the hump and win. I don't want to say must-win games, but to win games against teams that are in your division that you're right in the race. It's almost a must-win game as it can get. But he's doing just enough to kind of be there. And the fact that they've been alternating wins, losses all season long. This is like one of their first times all season they've lost 2 straight. I think that's exactly what Mariota is doing and keeping them in that playoff talk, whether we think the Atlanta Falcons are truly a good team or not. They're right in the thick of it in terms of in the playoffs. So Marcus Mariota may give them the best chance to win that because you're not going to get as many rookie mistakes from Marcus Mariota. Yeah. But either way, though, the Falcons, they moved to 4-6 after this game, fall half a game back, I should say, in the NFC South. The Panthers moved to 3-7, still holding on to that last place spot in the South. The Panthers will travel to Baltimore next week, and the Falcons will host the Chicago Bears in Week 11.
I'm scared.
You should be.
Not just because, the Bears are looking a lot better right now. But we just played the Panthers, and after you play the Panthers, you lose that next game.
That was the thing. Yeah.
0-8.
That's the thing. Oh man. Well, the Bears are hot. We talked about them yesterday. So they're a hot team. So the Falcons might not want to get that. But they lose this one 25-15. Let's get into our injury report. That's right. It is time for the injury report. With no Aaron here, I have decided to take the reins because AJ is going to do a lot more talking than I do because that's not my job. The injury report for today, Friday, we've got a whole lot of injuries going into the Sunday slate. Bucs safety Antoine Winfield Jr. has cleared concussion protocol and traveled with the team to Germany. He has been battling back concussion. That's a big addition back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. Bad news for the Bucs. They will be without wide receiver Russell Gage, who continues to be out battling with that hamstring injury. He has not played since week 7. Good thing they still have a Mike Evans and a Chris Godwin there. The 49ers are going to be without Jason Verrett for the remainder of the season as he tore his Achilles at practice on Wednesday. Not good for Jason Verrett. Just 31 years old, has battled quite a few injuries in the past few years that has kept him on the sideline. He adds another one in a torn Achilles that will make him miss the rest of the season. Tough blow to the 49ers defense. Keeping it with the secondary and in Cleveland this time, Denzel Ward says he will play in week 10 against the Miami Dolphins. He has missed the last 3 games after suffering a concussion in week 5 against the Chargers. That's a good guy to have back on your defense. If you're the Cleveland Browns, you're going to need some people to help stop you when you play the Miami Dolphins and Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. So Denzel Ward being back is a big thing for the Browns as they play the Dolphins this week. We'll preview that game in just a few. The Raiders, bad news for the Raiders. This one's a really tough one. The Raiders have placed wide receiver Hunter Renfrow and tight end Darren Waller on injured reserve. Renfrow battling an oblique injury, and Darren Waller just cannot get over that hamstring injury. He has re-aggravated again, and it will put him on the sidelines for at least 4 weeks, along with Hunter Renfrow. That quote, Big Four for the Las Vegas Raiders, AJ, they've only played 43 plays together this season. The Big Four being Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, Devontae Adams, and Derek Carr, or Josh Jacobs, whichever one you want to consider it. They have not played together a whole lot, and that's not good. That's tough for the Las Vegas Raiders. Now to get into our practice reports here, we talked about it yesterday how we were going to really dive into these today. Let's talk about the guys that were limited yesterday in practice. Excuse me. Woo. Talk about the guys that were limited yesterday in practice. Tight end Evan Ingram battling a back injury. He was limited. Noah Brown of the Dallas Cowboys battling a foot injury. Zeke still battling that knee injury. That kept him limited yesterday in practice. Word around the Cowboys is that he's trending upwards to play on Sunday against the Packers, but he was limited yesterday in practice, so we'll keep an eye on the reports today. Keep it locked in on our Sack City Twitter. Dameon Pierce, a new one that has popped up over the past few days, battling a chest and shoulder injury, kept him limited. Jarvis Landry trying to make a comeback, trying to be one of the receivers that can come back on this team. With Michael Thomas battling injury, Jarvis Landry's been out. Chris Olave's been battling that concussion. He's been playing though lately. Jarvis Landry was limited yesterday with the ankle. Mike Evans with the ribs and ankle, and Cameron Brate with the neck. Brate trending upwards as well. Looks like he'll return in the Bucs game against the Seahawks in Germany. Let's talk about the guys who did not practice. This one's a big one here. This is huge. The guys who did not practice: Mike Williams, Deion Jackson, Josh Reynolds, David Njoku, KJ Hamler. That one right there, really, that's the big one. Josh Allen, second straight day, he did not practice with that elbow injury. It's looking less and less likely he's going to play on Sunday, which means Case Keenum would get the start against the Minnesota Vikings. It's been up and down, hot and cold, this Josh Allen injury report. The past 2 practices, he's been not there. With the Buffalo Bills battling for a playoff spot, or not battling for a playoff spot, with the playoffs looking likely for the Bills, you could think that they would rest Josh Allen here in week 10. And Mecole Hardman battling the abdomen injury. He is it looks like he might play on Sunday, but he has been battling that and has kept him out of practice. And the good news, there is good news, AJ. There is good news. Ryan Tannehill, Richie James, Chase Young, Jahan Dotson, Brandon Cooks, Nico Collins all practiced on Thursday. Those are good news for teams, especially like the Titans. They'll get their quarterback back, or they're looking like they'll get their quarterback back on Sunday. He's been battling an ankle injury, and that he is Ryan Tannehill. Hey, Chase Young's on that list as well, AJ. That's a big one. If he can come back for the Commanders, that's going to be a big addition back to that team. That does it though for our injury report. AJ, it's all you now. It's all you.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
Proud of you.
What a great guy. Time that up with the music very well too.
Yeah. Oh, so just left me here chilling by myself and hanging out with the rest of the team.
It didn't happen while I was doing the injury report. At least it didn't happen.
Yeah. I was like, I feel like he should be saying something to me. And I'm like, oh, look at my face.
Yeah. The good old Mac, the Mac mouse did it to me again. Power. Yep, I did slid off the screen. All right, let's get into our AFC matchups. It's time! The Minnesota Vikings travel to Buffalo to take on the Bills. The Vikings enter this game 7-1. The Bills 6-2. The line for this one, AJ, has been going up and down and up and down with Josh Allen, be it missing practice and not knowing the status of him for Sunday. The Bills right now are 3.5-point favorites with an over-under of just 43.5. That's just been moving and moving and moving and moving and moving, AJ. What does this – obviously, the Bills without Josh Allen, that's a big, big, big time loss. What do we expect from this offense if Josh Allen doesn't play?
You know, honestly, I don't. Let's temper that. While it will be a different offense, you see, while it will change, I don't think that the world won't explode for the Buffalo Bills. They're a good team despite just their starters. They have players that know this offense, that know this system, and know what they like to do. And Case Keenum's been there for a while. If Case Keenum has to take this starting role coming Sunday, I'm not overly worried. I do think that they will have to do a couple different things. But I just think the score comes down from what most people would have had. Where it does make it a little bit more difficult is that gives the Vikings a chance to continue their 6 straight to 7 straight wins in one-score games when it comes to the difference of having Case Keenum and Josh Allen who can go make that game-winning play. But if Case Keenum is back there, do what he does, what he's been doing as a backup and when he's had times. Get the ball out of your hand quickly, which he's shown he can do. Take what the defense gives you, which he's shown he can do, and which the Minnesota Vikings defense, despite what they looked like against the Washington Commanders, have shown they will give up certain things. And then let's not forget, Case Keenum has a rapport, has chemistry with Stephon Diggs. So if you can get the ball out of your hands quickly, if you can give Stephon Diggs his shots, I think this offense is going to be pretty okay. The biggest thing they will miss is the rushing ability of Josh Allen and what he can do with his legs. He accounts for, I think it's 53% of the Bills' first downs when it comes to rushing the ball. That's a huge chunk. And if they don't have that from a Josh Allen and they can't get that from a Devin Singletary and a James Cook, that may halter them and put more on the shoulders of Case Keenum. But if he gets the ball out quickly and they just move the sticks, methodically, they should be all right.
Yeah, and it's actually good timing. We just got a report. Sean McDermott, I should say, Bills head coach Sean McDermott just actually said on a radio station that they are still taking Josh Allen 1 day and 1 hour at a time. He said that they're going to see how the lead up to practice goes and then go from there. So really, it's just a wait and see on this Josh Allen front. We're not going to know if he's going to start until right up to that. Yeah, we are not going to know about the Josh Allen whether he plays or not until probably right up close to game time. I think AJ on the Bills side of things, I think this one's going to be a big one for their defense. We talk about how good the Minnesota Vikings offense can be with the talents of Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, and company. The Bills defense this year allowing a league low 14.8 points per game this season. They've been looking great. One of the best, if not the best defense in the National Football League. I think this is going to be a big game for them if Josh Allen doesn't play, because that there is the chance that Case Keenum's not able to extend drives for the Bills offense, which might put a little bit more pressure on the Bills defense, setting them up for a little bit more tougher times against a Vikings team that offense that has been really good this season. And hey, that guy named Justin Jefferson, who still is one of the best, if not the best wide receivers in the NFL this year. It's going to be a tough task for the corners of the Buffalo Bills, but I do like their chances. They're one of the best defenses in the league. Let's talk about the Vikings defense, though, AJ, here. Matched up against whatever quarterback it is. What do you think about their defense heading into this matchup?
They've benefited from having some games in the past where the quarterbacks would make questionable decisions from quarterbacks that didn't have weapons, from quarterbacks just getting it together. Outside of Patrick Peterson, they have to be opportunistic, and I don't think it happens a lot. You look at this defense, and honestly, they've been bailed out a few times by this offense, getting them back into the game late game situations. And that's the plus of having a talented offense. Maybe that's the difference of last year and this year. The offense has done just enough to get them going, where last year they couldn't figure out that last little gear to switch it over. Going against the Bills offense, I mean, with Case Keenum, they feel a little bit better. They can maybe recreate what's gone on from last week with the Commanders. But it's going to be based on what Zadarius Smith can do, and if he's getting pressure, and they find ways to get him past this offensive line. Because once that happens, it gives their secondary a couple seconds to recorrect when they miss a step or so on and so forth. Josh Allen is very good at seeing an opening with a split second. I don't know if Case Keenum still has that prowess in his game. I don't know if he can look one way and immediately throw the ball and acknowledge that that's the window you have to get that ball in. So if they can get some pressure with Zadarius Smith and give this secondary a little extra time to handle some of these receivers, then they'll look pretty good. You're on mute, buddy.
Why am I on mute? That's weird. Yeah, that's a weird one. I know that feeling. I wanted to touch on this question here from Sherm. Shout out everyone in the chat. I see you, Joey B, talking about my Rangers gear. I always will rock the Rangers gear on an NFL show. I don't care. Big dub from them last night. Sherm asked though, should the Bills push it with Josh Allen as the Jets are right behind him, vying for the AFC East spot? I don't think that's a thing. I don't think that they need to push it too far because if you're the Bills, obviously you don't want to take anything for granted, and things can change fast in the NFL. But if you're the Bills, you're right in the spot to make the playoffs no matter what. I think that pushing Josh Allen, if he's not 100% healthy, I don't think there's a need to push it because they're not in that big of danger to lose a playoff spot. Sure, they want that home field advantage, but they also know that they need their quarterback to have any shot in the playoffs. And if anything goes wrong, one wrong move on Josh Allen, and he hurts that elbow again and further damages it, that could be the season. That's the season. Yeah, that's the season if Josh Allen continues to get hurt, not if they don't win the AFC East and they let the Jets win. But I don't know how. I don't think that's that far or that. I think there's still a lot of space between the Jets winning the AFC East and the Bills, and that's not to discredit the Jets, but to really credit the Bills.
And you don't want to. This everyone has agreed for the most part that this seems like the best shot the Bills have really had, despite how good they looked last year and the year before. I don't know that you risk Josh Allen and then say we'll just get right back at it again next season. Like you have to make sure you're prepared. If you don't get home field, it sucks. But I'd much rather have Josh Allen take me through an extra game in the playoffs, possibly, than running the rest of the season with Case Keenum. And it doesn't sound like first. It sounds like they're going to make him play, not make him play, but he's going to play is what it's sounding like or what it's feeling like. I also don't know that it's so much that we're looking at him being out next week if he doesn't play this 1 week. So you got to trust your defense. That's been very good all season. You got to trust the weapons you have on this offense. It's been pretty good all season to get you one game, even if it's a tough, gritty game. Because I do believe worst case scenario, Josh Allen is back next week.
Yeah, that's the thing is with the injuries this season, it's been very there's been setbacks on a lot of players this year. So hopefully not with Josh Allen. AJ, what do you got in this game?
I do have the Bills winning this game. If I'm not mistaken, I put 30-23.
You put 27-23 on it. I don't think I can pull up the graphic because Pretty sure it does that. Because
Gotcha.
they did all the lowers for 3 box. But yeah, no, you had 27-23.
Okay.
There, your scores are in the StreamYard rundown.
Yeah, I was on the comments. I got you.
All good, all good.
I was like, oh no, I can run it.
But yeah, your prediction.
Yeah, I got the Bills 27-23. I don't trust that defense enough, even though they had a good week last week. That was against the Taylor Heineke, who better than Carson Wentz, but still not, great. And I think the Bills defense is ready to step up and show that they can hold it down, even with some of the pieces they may be missing. Give me the Bills. I do think they're the better team. I think the Vikings are my Titans this year. Like a really good team record, but I just don't trust it. I don't trust it. You can't win every single one score game.
Yeah, that's what they've been doing. They've been finding ways to win. I agree. I don't think it happens in this one. I don't know why, but I kind of see something similar happening in this game as to what we saw from the Vikings Eagles game, where Kirk Cousins, that offense kind of looked sluggish and looked a little off, and they didn't score that many points. I know that was primetime Kirk Cousins, and this isn't primetime Kirk Cousins. This is daytime Kirk Cousins. 1:00 start here. But I have the Bills winning this game 24-14. I think that the Bills defense is going to step up. They know the task at hand. They know that if their quarterback isn't playing, they're going to have to step up. And I think they do so and kind of limit this Vikings offense. And they win this one 24-14. Aaron has the Bills in this one as well, 30-23. So making it a clean 3-game sweep for the Bills over the Minnesota Vikings. The next game on our list is the Denver Broncos traveling to Tennessee to take on the Titans. The Broncos enter this game 3-5. The Titans 5-3. Titans coming off of that tough loss in overtime against Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday Night Football in Week 9. They are favorites in this game by 3 points with an over-under of just 38 here, AJ. This is not looking like a very high-scoring game. The Titans, though, look to have Ryan Tannehill back in this offense. He practiced on Thursday, should have another full practice here today, setting him up to start on Sunday for the Titans. So they're handing it back over to Ryan Tannehill. What do you think what differences does he bring to this offense that Malik Willis didn't have? Obviously, Malik Willis only threw about 10 times per game in his two starts. So what's Ryan Tannehill bring here?
Yeah, that's the case right there. The threat of having a passing game, the way this Titans offense likes to run, pun intended, is through Derrick Henry. And as soon as you devote everything you have to that, then they hit you with the play action. Well, with Malik Willis, who averaged about 13 attempts per game, didn't cross 80 yards in his 2 games that he played, that threat's not there. Now, granted, you had Derrick Henry, King Henry carrying the load with no problem. But with Ryan Tannehill, there's the threat of him being able to throw the ball. There's also the threat of him scrambling out. And I know Malik Willis had that, but when you have a rookie in there who doesn't make the decisions or I guess isn't decisive, his capability of running doesn't hit the same. When Ryan Tannehill's in there and he makes that decision to go, he's gone. He doesn't take that split second to second guess it. And that's another element that this offense hadn't had. Now the problem with that is these receivers on the Titans are nothing. They didn't catch a single pass last week. They averaged a separation of 1.5 yards. That's the worst in a game this season. If you can't find anyone to throw the ball to, then it's not going to matter. I mean, we talked about Derrick Henry not having a great season this year. He's been forced to have a great season this year. Next year, he may not because he may be pooped out. He may finally put empty on the tank after this season. The Tennessee Titans passed the ball 176 times this season. That's the fewest in the NFL. And I consider that to continue against a Denver Broncos team who just lost Bradley Chubb, but still very talented defense, and especially in that secondary.
Yeah, and you talk about defenses, and I don't want this to go under the radar because I feel like it does a lot and doesn't get talked about enough, is the Titans defense. We always focus on with the Titans. When we look at them, we're like, okay, well, Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, that's where we really turn our attention to. But I want to give a lot of credit to this Tennessee Titans defense. Has been one of the best in the NFL. Number one on third downs this season. Number one on third down conversions on defense and stopping that, I should say. Their defense has been great this year. Obviously neutralized the Chiefs offense on Sunday Night Football this past week. Going to be a tough test for the Denver Broncos offense on Sunday What do you expect to see from Russell Wilson in game number 9 for him this year?
Before the bye, I would have said a lot of the same. There's been rumblings in the I guess media pundit world that the second half of the season for Russell Wilson is going to look a lot different. But that's all I've heard. No one said why. No one's given us a reason that they believe this. Is it just because all the other years he's been great in the first half of the season and bad in the second half, so they're expecting a flip? I'm hoping that something has happened between him and Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton, guys who are getting opportunities but haven't been making the production. I said in the preseason that I really liked Greg Dulcich as a tight end coming into this offense, and it seems to be that they like him too because he's been getting the targets since he's been there and he's produced. And I think he has added a different element to that offense for Russell Wilson, who hasn't really liked to throw in the tight end since he had Jimmy Graham. Not to mention the 4 1 weeks that he had with Will Dissly before Will Dissly got hurt, big Montana and whatnot. But Greg Dulcich brings a different element to this offense. I am very intrigued on what their plans are for Chase Edmonds, a guy who we thought was talented, was efficient with the ball. Miami paid him, couldn't find a way to use him, and then they ship him to Denver, who needs some help and doesn't trust Melvin Gordon. If he and Melvin Gordon, I guess Latavius Murray, and I guess Mike Boone can offer some help to Russell Wilson and give them more options. Maybe he poises himself a little bit. Maybe he takes an extra second to make sure he's seeing what he's seeing correctly, because that's been his biggest problem, is deciding the vision and making a choice on where the ball should go sometimes. And if he can clean that up this second half of the season, the schedule gets a little lighter for the Denver Broncos.
Yeah. This is the time. The time is now for the Denver Broncos to try and shift gears and push for maybe a last-ditch playoff spot. Only at 3-5, they're not too far behind in the race, but it's an uphill battle for sure for the Denver Broncos. The under has hit quite a lot in Denver Broncos games. I think the under hits again in this one. I originally said it was going to go over by 1 point. I don't like it. I'm going to say the Tennessee Titans win this game 21-16.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the Titans get this game too. I think Derrick Henry is going to be too much. I don't think they're going to throw the ball pretty often unless they find a very clean way on the defensive side of the ball, to attack the run, not knowing of the threat of the pass on the receiving side of things, not the Tannehill side of things. I don't see them being able to stop Derrick Henry. Give me the Titans 23-20 in this one. That'll be the third time the Broncos hit the 20-point mark, and it'll be in a loss.
The next game on our list is the Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. The Chiefs come in this game 6-2, Jaguars 3-6. Chiefs are favorites in this one by 9.5 points with an over/under of 50.5. That actually makes me feel good. As the Jaguars fan on this show, that makes me feel good that at least the over's high, maybe the over/under is high. So the total points, okay, maybe the Jaguars are going to be able to score some points. Or it's just that many points coming from the Kansas City Chiefs, which doesn't make me feel good. The Jaguars, obviously the clear underdogs in this one. AJ, what do they need to do to be able to pull off the upset, or maybe even just keep this one closer than what the books say?
They need to keep running the ball. Travis Etienne has shown that he can handle a workload. And I know we worry he's brittler apparently and small and doesn't have the power behind him, but you look at what he's done over the last 3 weeks. 379 yards, 4 touchdowns. They found a gem. That chemistry between Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne from Clemson is hitting on this offense, and it's looking really good. Travis Etienne's kind of the bailout for Trevor Lawrence because when Trevor Lawrence starts making mistakes, they go back to the home run hitter and Travis Etienne, who's been showing it up. I think they need to continue to run the ball this week as well. And allow them to open up some of these throwing lanes to what they were able to do last week with Christian Kirk and Zay and Marvin Jones. Maybe Evan Ingram gets back into the fold. But if they can run this ball, if they can, take those short throws that are just in front of them. Last week the Chiefs gave up 172 rushing yards, and another 100-yard game from Etienne won't hurt.
It makes a difference when that rusher is Derrick Henry. But I do think Travis Etienne is going to be a big part of this offense, and not even just in the running game. I think they're going to have to get him involved in the passing game. I think the game script for this one, obviously, the Chiefs offense, one of the best, if not the best, in the NFL. Definitely going to be putting up points on this Jaguars defense that has struggled over the past. The Jaguars have lost 20 of their past 21 road games. Doesn't help going into Kansas City, one of the best environments for home. One of the worst places to travel as a road team. Check out this stat though. This is something that is wild to me. Kansas City has won 23 straight games in the month of November and December, the longest streak since the NFL merger. So they have not lost in 23 games in the months of November and December, which is wild to me to think of because we talk about the Chiefs. Everyone at the start of the season is always talking about how ridiculous Patrick Mahomes' record and his stats are in the month of September. So it's like Patrick Mahomes has the month of September. This team has a win streak in the months of November and December. This team is just too good, man. This team is just too good. It's going to be a tough sledding for the Jags here, and I don't want you guys to laugh at me for this prediction. Maybe I'm going overboard, but I do think this is a complete mismatch, and the Chiefs are on a different level, and the Jaguars are not even close to that level. Give me the Chiefs here 41-24.
41-24. That's a possibility that later in the game when it's been over and, it's been ugly, they just end up putting a couple more. Okay. Put on a couple more. I hate you, Joey. Maybe they put on a couple more points at the end. I don't have it being that big. I do have this offense putting up points, though. And but the Jaguars, they've looked a lot better. Their defense is better than it's been in previous years. And they may get a couple stops, and I don't know if they can get them up to 41. But I have it the Chiefs 31-21 in this one.
It's going to break my heart. I just want to see. I just want to like as the Jags. I want to see I want to see them be competitive. Like even though I have it being a big blowout, like there's still ways for you to be competitive and not be out of this game completely.
Besides week 2 and 3, the Jaguars haven't really been blown out. I mean, they've been in there. I mean, you're talking about one yard against the Giants.
Possession games. All one possession games.
Competitive is not the problem. It's finishing those competitive games.
Yeah. And I nor you and nor Aaron think that the Jaguars can win as it's a clean sweep for the Chiefs over the Jacksonville Jaguars. The next game that we're going into, it's the 3-5 Browns traveling to Miami to take on the 6-3 Dolphins. The Dolphins are 3.5-point favorites with an over/under of 49 points here. The HAS Dolphins offense has been the talk of the town, and I talked about this earlier. I kind of when we were talking Titans, I was like, the focus always goes to the Dolphins offense when we talk Dolphins. Focus always goes to the Titans offense. We don't talk enough about these defenses for these teams. And I think it really needs to be talked about with this Miami Dolphins defense lately that has been struggling and that has been a big, not obviously they've been winning football games, so it doesn't matter. But they have been the weakness of this team. What's going on with the Dolphins defense?
The thing is, they have a scheme that's worked for them in the past. And this year they don't have the same elements of that defense to pull it off. The Miami Dolphins have been one of the most blitz-heavy defenses in the NFL for the past 2 seasons, and they continued it up this year. And this year, they don't have the secondary to back it up. Despite Javon Holland coming up this past couple weeks and having himself a couple great games, they don't have the full complement of their secondary. Xavier Howard and Byron Jones and guys like that. They haven't been able to hold these receivers at the rate they were before. So when they go into their happy cover zero, the secondary isn't holding up to the receivers, and it's leaving space for Justin Fields to do things like that. It's leaving opportunities and windows for quarterbacks to fit the ball in. It's been a tough sled for the secondary at holding some of these guys when what they want to do is blitz. Now, getting Bradley Chubb, it's going to help that. It's the second weekend and another week into the scheme and another smart player getting more time. And I think you'll see this start to change. But we talk about this defense like this last season. The first couple of games, the first half of the season, They weren't that good. And then you saw the second half of the season, they started getting people to turn the ball over. They started getting to the quarterback. Now you have Jalen Phillips, who is one of the faster edge guys in the NFL. You add him to Bradley Chubb. You hope that this secondary and the back seven can hold their spots, and they end up being okay. But if they're going to continue to blitz, the secondary who is back there guarding has to be able to hold their guys.
Yeah, the Dolphins offense, or the Dolphins defense, I should say, bottom half. They're at math here. They're at 23 on the season, right, in the last 3 games in terms of yards per game allowed. It's been their weakness. If you were to call weakness out on this team, it's definitely there for the Dolphins. On the Browns side, they're still with Jacoby Brissett. I believe one more week. This is the last week for no. He's got one more game after this, or 2 more games after this.
He comes in week 13, but they have a bye in week 12.
Okay, they have their bye in week 12. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so they have 2 more games. This game and the next game. Math hard with Jacoby Brissett. So this is becoming his swan song here. A revenge game. This is a revenge game. Mm-hmm. Why did I miss this? Why did I miss this? Jacoby Brissett revenge game for the Browns. What do we expect to see from them in this matchup? What are you watching for the most on the Browns side of things?
You know, they've been one of the more true to themselves teams in the NFL. They're going to run the ball. They're going to have Nick Chubb take the ball 25 times and run it down the throat. He's the best running back in the NFL, and he's showing it with 100-yard game after 100-yard game after showing up in the end zone. If I'm not mistaken, he's got at least 10 touchdowns on the season. But then you just hope that they open this up for Amari Cooper. A big get in this game is if David Njoku is back and David Njoku is actually healthy, because when he's been in the offense, Jacoby Brissett has been looking for him, and he's delivered for him. And allowing that with Nick Chubb and with what Amari Cooper has been able to do for them is going to have this offense open up. We just talked about their defensive lulls. This can be a shootout type game if they have a full complement of the offense. So they're going to run the ball. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt will be the bulk of the offense. But Amari Cooper, if he can get loose, has shown to do some good things. Donovan Peoples-Jones has been a solid number 2. Not a guy that you're expecting to beat you, but a guy who's going to make sure the chains can keep moving when you really need to look for something. And if they can get David Njoku back, I think that he's going to help Jacoby Brissett a lot and will allow these guys to get down the field and into the end zone.
Yeah, and this Browns team, I mean, like you said, they're staying true to their to their identity. They don't change things up a whole lot when it comes to their system. It's give the rock to Nick Chubb, let him do his thing, and then Amari Cooper has been having a good season as well. An under the radar good season, a sneaky good season for Amari Cooper with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. I do need to point something out here. They do I was right about this. The Browns are coming off of their bye. They had their bye last week. That's what I was like looking at my notes, and I'm like, wait a second, something's not right here. Yeah, they had their bye last week. I was like, I have Amari Cooper. I thought he was off last week. The Browns have the Dolphins, and then Buffalo, and then Tampa. And those are the last 3 games Jacoby Brissett will be playing before Deshaun Watson comes back in week 13 against the Houston Texans. That's how this one goes.
Interesting. I could have sworn their bye was later.
Yeah, that's how this one is. I know Browns fans are probably listening to this, like laughing at the start of our video, but we corrected it. And Browns fans, you guys can go to hell because you guys lose this game 33-24. I'm just kidding. I love you, Browns fans. Dog Nation.
Yeah, what he said. The Browns lose this game 34-27. I'll give the Browns a couple more scores. Field goal from Cade York. And you guys will feel good about it because you're the Browns, and Browns gonna Brown.
Yeah, shout out Cade York. That give love to the kickers. Give love to the kickers. Dolphins clean sweep on the show here over the Cleveland Browns. The Pittsburgh Steelers at 2-6 host the 3-6 New Orleans Saints. Saints coming into Pittsburgh being favorites by 1.5 points with an over/under of 40 here. AJ, I believe the Steelers. Let's try and get this one right. I think the Steelers were on a bye. We're also on a bye. Kenny Pickett comes back here. It's against the Saints defense that is starting to wake up. What do you want to see from Kenny Pickett, and what do you expect to see from Kenny Pickett here in yet another game. This one against a better defense in the New Orleans Saints.
I expect him to use his legs. I need to see that escapability that made him one of the better quarterbacks coming out of Pitt in a while. Over the last 2 weeks, he's been sacked 8 times, not obviously not counting the bye, and had 4 interceptions in their past 2 games. If that's going to be the case, you're never going to find some of these targets that you have. You lost one in Chase Claypool, and honestly, he was looking for Chase Claypool. One thing that Kenny Pickett had been doing was spreading this ball to his receivers. Now you get to hone in on some talented players. Now you don't have to worry about getting the ball to everybody. You can get those targets to Deontay Johnson, and hopefully he starts catching some of them. You can get those targets to George Pickens, who will make the crazy catches. You can have Pat Freiermuth be a bigger part of this offense and be a safety blanket for Kenny Pickett. And when none of those options are there, use your legs and escape. You're a rookie, I get it. You're overthinking, and I get it. But simplify the game for yourself, and Mike Tomlin will help you do that. He's one of the better coaches in the NFL. With Kenny Pickett, he's good at finding his receivers. He's good at spreading the ball around. Spread it thinner. Get the people involved who are going to make those plays. And then as you start getting your rhythm, then you can do something that the defense isn't expecting. Then you can go to a third or fourth option down the field. So that's my safest route to success for Kenny Pickett. It's going to be a tough sledding.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns, 8 interceptions for Kenny Pickett on the year. Has not been that great, but we know, we talk about all the time, rookie quarterbacks, they can tend to struggle in their first year. Want to see some positives for Kenny Pickett. Start limiting those turnovers, but start making more plays. I mean, you can turn the ball over you want. You just have to start making plays and making a difference. It's another game that Mike Tomlin is an underdog, though. He does not like being an underdog. He's got a winning record as a head coach. Again, as the underdog, a lot of games this year where the Steelers not going to be favored. On the Saints side of things, AJ, it's Andy Dalton yet again being the starting quarterback for them. We've talked about it before. It's been the Jameis Winston, Andy Dalton conversation. It seems like it's becoming more and more Andy Dalton's team. What are you seeing from the Saints offense, and what do you want to see from them in this game?
I mean, they've been finding ways to keep going. Like, despite, what I mean by that is you look at this roster, and yeah, Chris Olave has been great, but you haven't had Jarvis Landry. You haven't had and won't have Michael Thomas. It's been the Taysom Hill, the Alvin Kamara, the Juwan Johnson show, and the Chris Olave show. So they've found a way to work well with what they've had, and it's been paying off. I'm still not entirely sure what we're seeing from Andy Dalton that they weren't getting from Jameis Winston. Now, granted, we didn't have a lot of Jameis Winston to really find out, so that must be something that they're seeing internally. And I'll give Andy Dalton the fact that he does know who to look for and when to look for him. But this offense, you have to start at the top. Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, Taysom Hill, Juwan Johnson. That's the way. That's your pecking order. That's who you need to run this offense through. And especially this week, being quick to get off the ball with guys like Kamara and Chris Olave, because there's a very good chance TJ Watt's back in the lineup. And normally we'd say with TJ Watt in there, they're probably going to win that game. I think he has to do a lot more to make up for what Kenny Pickett may bring to the table. But that defense is going to look a lot different than when it has TJ Watt and Minkah Fitzpatrick back there. So,
yeah. Huge additions, huge returns for the Steelers if they can get those guys back on the defensive side of the ball. I want to touch on one last thing before we get into our predictions, at least for the Steelers. Got to get Najee Harris going. Got to get this running game going. I don't even know if I want to say it's Najee Harris anymore, but got to get some type of running game going to help out Kenny Pickett and help his development, because that's going to be huge moving forward. Got to get him going. You had a big investment in Najee Harris. Find a way to make him an efficient running back. I don't know if it's the offensive line or it's him, but there's something wrong going on there. Maybe get Jalen Warren more involved. He's got some explosive plays in him. Do something with him. Got to get something going in the running game for the Pittsburgh Steelers to help your rookie quarterback. With that being said, I do not have the Steelers winning this game. I think the Saints pull this one out 26-20, and just something about this score and this game. I'm like, man, do I want to go with the upset here with the Steelers? Because I'm bouncing back and forth, but I'll go with the Saints here, 26-20.
Yeah, 26-20.
Yep,
it's a good score there.
Yep.
Looks very familiar, but that's cool. I won't do that to you.
Wait, what?
It's cool. It's cool.
What happened? I'm confused.
I don't know how it happened, but it's cool. I'll take the other score.
Wait,
So
what? I'm
my
confused.
my picks, I definitely gave you the score 26-20 for the Saints. But that's okay.
Oh,
We'll
maybe I have
go
a
24-18.
24-18 then.
I think you
Let's see.
do.
Hold on. Let's see if I have the graphic wrong. No, I have that right.
No, that's what you put. But I don't
That's
think
weird.
it's
That's
cool. It's
weird.
cool. 24-18. The Saints win this game. It's still
Oh,
a 6-point swing, and it's cool and it's fine and it's wonderful. You do a lot, man. It's okay. Like, a couple numbers, 6 points, 6 points. That's what I meant to say. 2 field goals, 1 touchdown, a mixed extra point. No Chris Boswell. It's probably the mixed extra point. It's all good.
guaranteed 26-20 across the board here. Saints win over the Pittsburgh Steelers. I can't believe I messed that one up.
It's
Whoopsie.
cool. I gave you one yesterday, so we're good. We're good now.
There you go. Now we're even. The next game on our list is the Indianapolis Colts at 3-5-1, traveling to Las Vegas to take on the 2-6 Raiders. Jeff Saturday's debut as the new head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. The Raiders are favorites, though, 4.5 points over under 41.5. This is a game, again, Jeff Saturday's debut. All the talk, all the chatter this week is about the decision of the Colts to go with Jeff Saturday. Not many people talking about the game itself. And I know that's what you Colts fans want to hear about. Enough talking about Jeff Saturday being the coach, whether or not it was the right decision or not. Tell me what I want to hear about my team. AJ, tell the Colts fans what they need to hear, what to expect, what to watch for. Because that's the thing. What do they need to be watching for? Maybe not to what to expect, because we don't know what Jeff Saturday is going to do. What should they be watching for and hoping for that Jeff Saturday can come do for this Colts team?
I know we're supposed to talk about the game, but I want to talk about Jeff Saturday.
Okay. Cool.
Honestly, though, we said we didn't know what he wanted to do. And when I think about it, that may not be true. I do know what Jeff Saturday wants to do. He wants to run the ball. Jeff Saturday wants to run the damn ball. That's been one of the things I've heard him talk about on ESPN all the time. He likes pancakes, and pancakes leads to running the ball. And Jonathan Taylor, if I'm not mistaken, should be back in this game. And if that is the case, him plus what we saw Deion Jackson do, I'm not even going to mention another person who they brought into this offense. That's going to be a breath for success, because you got to get Sam Ehlinger out of his way. You have to be able to help him. And with Jonathan Taylor and Deion Jackson, you're able to do that. I don't know. If I'm not mistaken, they had -2 yards in it was either the first quarter or the first half last week. And that's just something that can't happen. And I don't think it will when you have the running game of Jonathan Taylor, who sure hasn't been so great this season, but we know what he's capable of. And if he's actually finally healthy, he is somebody you have to game plan for. So I look for them to run the ball as well as they can this season, this week. And maybe that opens it up to my guy, Mr. Alec Pierce, against the Raiders defense that isn't that good.
I need it to be Michael Pittman, please. I need it to be Michael Pittman. That's where I need it to be.
Is there a world? All right, so
No.
From what I heard, this is Jim Irsay's doing. But is there a world where Jeff Saturday brings Matt Ryan back into the fold? As
the quarterback or as a coach?
Yeah, as a quarterback.
For sure. For sure. I think that and this would further the conversation that we had of something not being right with this Matthew Stafford, Sam Ehlinger thing. Maybe it's not an actual injury, right, and they're trying to change. Yeah, something that's going on with that. Maybe it's not an actual injury, and I definitely think Matt Ryan could return. For sure. I think that's 100% an option for the Colts this year. I think this team, like you said, that identity might be running the ball. Maybe he, like you said, he in his press conference, he doesn't have the coaching experience, but he's been around the game a lot. And what position did he play? He played offensive line. He is an ugly position. That might be his style that he brings to the Indianapolis Colts here and runs the ball. It's no guarantee what his style is going to be and what the game plan is going to be for their new offensive coordinator, the new offensive play calling. But the cliche is there. It'll be interesting to see. On the Raiders side of things, they blew a 17-point lead last week in a loss, another 17-point lead this season blown. it's been a tough year for the Las Vegas. Did I say the Saints earlier? What is wrong with me?
I
Did I say
missed
this?
it if you
Oh,
did.
good. I didn't say it then. The Raiders blowing leads 2-6 on the season, not the way they had hoped. They have to try and get it back on track, maybe to have a late push or do something to show some positive signs. How do they do that, AJ? How do they get those positive signs?
There's that guy that plays for this team that we all like, and I think they need to give him the damn ball. We talk about the Colts running the ball. Raiders, run the ball. Run the ball. Josh Jacobs will take you to the promised land. And when you do that, guess who else can take you to the promised land? Devontae Adams, because now they're putting him in the box and they're focused on Josh Jacobs, who can run through, around, and with anybody on this field. Josh Jacobs last week, we were wanting more out of him. But, I do find that it was important last week to really get Derek Carr and Devontae Adams going, especially after the week of the illness. And, you saw what they brought to the table with Derek Carr and Devontae Adams. They found ways to get him in the end zone last week, 146 yards, 2 touchdowns. But this can't be an offense with all the weapons we talked about where it's one or the other. You have to find a way to get these guys going. You're not going to have Darren Waller. So you're not going to have Hunter Renfrow. Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs is enough against a Colts defense that has also underperformed to get you the W. Run the ball, pass the ball to Devontae Adams, and then come back on the field and run the ball and pass the ball to Devontae Adams. It's so simple. I understand. It's Madden. It is Madden for you. Run the ball with Josh Jacobs and pass the ball to Devontae Adams.
Yeah, I mean, put the ball in your best player's hands. We talk about that all the time this season. I have been a big guy talking about this. I've talked about this a lot this season, that like a lot of coaches, they have a tendency to overcomplicate for things and overthink the way their offenses should go and the play calling in certain situations. Just simplify it, man. Give your best players the ball. Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams. Obviously, we've never coached in the NFL. No, neither of us have, but played a whole lot of Madden. We know how it works. Give the ball to your best players, okay? Give the rock to Josh Jacobs, open it up for the passing game. And the other thing is, and I talked about this when we were recapping the Jaguars-Raiders game, if it doesn't work the first time with Josh Jacobs, do not give up on the run. That's what I felt like they did in that game against Jacksonville. They gave up on the run too soon. And obviously, Devontae Adams is having a fantastic day. But don't get away from what you have in Josh Jacobs. Don't get away from the success that could come with Josh Jacobs. Give it to him. Do not give up on the run. We saw it in the early stages of the season for the Raiders when they were losing games. We're like, where is the running game for the Raiders? Hello, that's the trend. Hello, that's the trick here. Like, do we not see the pattern of why you're losing these games? It's because you're not giving the ball to Josh Jacobs. And with that being said, they're going to give the ball to Josh Jacobs. They're going to give the ball to Devontae Adams. Give me the Raiders here, 30-16.
Yeah, I feel I see the trend here, and we're thinking bringing in Jeff Saturday and all the question marks set up in the air. Is Jonathan Taylor really healthy? That leads us to believe one way for one team here. Funny enough, they really haven't proven us that just because of these situations, they're going to do it. But with that being said, I am going to trust in them this week. I'm going to trust in that talent, and I'm going to take the Raiders to get their third win on the season, 24-18 Raiders.
I wanted to keep my score closer. I wanted to go down the narrative of, like, sometimes when you have a new head coach, or like if it's an interim and they've promoted someone from within, like the team rallies around and everything. I do have the concern that the team might not like have that same storyline. Like that's why I didn't have
I do slightly disagree because with Jeff Saturday, while he's been an ESPN analyst and everything, he has not been away from this Indianapolis Colts organization. Okay. He's in their ring of honor. He shows up to their facilities all the time. And I was credit where credit's due. I was listening to Pat McAfee about it. And apparently him in Indianapolis is like Kobe Bryant in the world. Like they love Jeff Saturday in Indianapolis. He knows football. He knows the game. He knows the organization. And while he may not know every single player in that locker room, he knows what that organization's about. And I think maybe the word rally is too strong. Maybe they'll go, yeah, we've been waiting for you. We knew you could do it. And to that point, I get you. But I think what he's going to bring into that, I think the players will like it. I think he's going to be a player's coach because he's been there before.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it. That's fair. Something that's sticking with me, and this is now we'll talk to Jeff Saturday. Something that's sticking with me in my head is something that Richard Sherman was talking about, or even Andrew. I think was it Andrew Whitworth or Ryan? Someone on the panel last night for the Amazon game was talking about how you promote like it's a slap in the face to the coaches that have been there to bring in someone like Jeff Saturday. And it's no disrespect or no discredit to Jeff Saturday. It's not a knock on Jeff Saturday whatsoever. Right. But to have guys like Fox and Gus Bradley and guys that have been there, interim coaches or offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, player position coaches, all be there for so long, put in that work, grind out the season through 10 weeks and say, okay, now we're just going to bring in someone for the last 8 who hasn't been here, who hasn't been putting in the work, who hasn't been doing it with his team. And again, not a knock on Jeff Saturday, but that's something that's been big to me. That's something like is stuck in my head. It's like, okay, maybe it's not like a hoorah, like a rally behind this coach. But like you said, they could play. They will be playing for Jeff Saturday. You say he's been around the organization. Been around the organization and been a part of the team. So
to that point though, I mean, you're looking at this Colts organization and you're looking at this team in the season at that point almost as a complete failure. You know, you thought you'd get it right 2 years ago. You thought with Phillip Rivers, you thought you get it right the year before or after with Carson Wentz. You thought you get it right this year with Matt Ryan. You end up having to let Matt Ryan sit the bench. Then you fire your offense coordinator, defense coordinator, if I'm not mistaken. Then you fire the head coach. At that point, you don't trust anybody in the building. Despite what they've done, they clearly weren't doing enough to help this team that we thought was talented get over the hump, the 3-5-1. So maybe you're thinking that splash from outside, a different perspective, not a guy that's just going to, well, we're going to keep doing it how we were doing it when Frank was here. You know, that may be what Jim Irsay thought they needed just to even salvage the season in a positive light. I'm not saying I completely agree with it, but I can understand the perspective of if you had to make all of those drastic moves seamlessly 3 weeks in a row, you don't trust anything going on in that organization below yourself.
Yeah. No argument here. No arguments here. We both have the Raiders, though, in this one. Shout out Sherm, getting everyone buzzing on the chat here, trying to get everyone in, supporting the show. Shout out Joey B as well for grinding it out, watching the show, sticking around, tuning in every week, every day. That does it, though, for another episode of the Sac City Podcast. We'll be back again live on Sunday morning for Pigskins and Pancakes for our live fantasy football advice. Getting you guys ready for your week matchups, helping you win those games, and helping you win those fantasy championships. So tune in live at noon Eastern time right here on our YouTube page at the Sac City Pod for Pigskins and Pancakes. Any final words, AJ?
Nah, I'm good. Football time, baby. I'm good.
We're ready. We're riding high. Your football is over, though. Your team lost last night. My team's going to lose on Sunday.
My team going to win tomorrow.
Oh, hey, there you go. I guess that's a thing. Who do they play?
Forgot.
Well, best of luck to you, everyone. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of the Sac City Podcast. Again, we'll be back again live at 12 Eastern time on Sunday for Pigskins and Pancakes for your boy AJ Johnson. I am me. We will see you Sunday.
Holla.